Oh, g'day, Joey here. I'm coming back. I'm going to grab a song out of this book. I've shown it once before on the channel, the Complete Guitar Player Book. There's some sort of old famous pop songs in there. And what I want to do today is have a go at doing a complete guitar arrangement from scratch, utilising just the bare bones that I'm going to get out of this book, which is just simple melody and the chords and nothing else. I'm going to do a full guitar arrangement. I'm just going to show you through the steps, the sort of steps I might go through in doing this sort of thing. So the song I've picked is Sailing. It's a good choice because the melody's quite sparse, so there's lots of gaps to fill in, and that's the sort of stuff we're going to focus on. How do we fill in those gaps to, so you're just not sort of just doing, just playing basic chords. We're going to, and it's predominantly finger pick. Oh, well, yeah, it is finger picking, so it will be a finger picking arrangement. So, just for starters, so I've got some snapshots of the song as it progresses from basic melody all the way through to the full arrangement, and I've got 4 steps. So so we're looking at Sailing. So here's the first one. I'll just show the whole. You can see the whole melody there from start to finish. It's 16 bars, and then it just repeats each line of those 16 bars. So that's what we're starting with. You can see the melody and the chords. Let's just quickly have a look at that melody. Okay, so that's our first step, the melody. So the next step, so I've got a new screen here, is just adding a single bass note at the start of each bar that we just grabbed from the chord. So this is just our first step. It's still all fairly simple. So I'll just quickly show you what that sounds like. Once again, you don't need to see me do this. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, so that's just a single bass note at the start of each bar along with the melody. So now our third step is to just, actually I'll before I show you that. So as I said, all we've done so far is just basic melody with one bass note at the start of each bar that we just take from the chord that the melody's in. The next step with this particular song is to fill out that bass note, and in this case, so if I throw that up on the screen now, you'll recall that with the melody you had a lot of semi-notes, or 2 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next bars is actually a 2-beat rest, and then and then another 2-beat rest. So that got me thinking, let's alternate our bass line, 2 beats by 2 beats. And so we end up with something like this. So once again, what you see on the screen, I'll just play that. Okay, it's up there. So you get the idea. I'm just alternating the bass line. For the most part, I'm doing the first and the fifth, and then when I get to the CI, for the sake of simplicity, I've done a first and a third. Okay, finally, we get to this. I'll just quickly show you this, and then we'll talk about it bar by bar. So this is our fourth step. This is the melody, our double bass line that we're doing, the alternating bass line, and we've filled every little space with a note. So I've taken a long time to get to this because this is where we want to end up. And what I'll do now is spend a couple of minutes explaining how I've made my selections to fill up what you see there. So let's do it 4 bars by 4 bars, and so rather than leave that whole notation up, I'll do it so that you can see the 4 bars as I'm playing, and I can sort of refer to those bars as I go. So you recall the last one we were at 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's a lot of bunches of 2 notes that has helped me work out this arrangement. So for that start, as soon as we strike that G note, or the 2 Gs, I've got 3 spaces to fill up with 8th notes. So that's the way I've sort of broken it all up in my head and on Guitar Pro. So that's where we end up with that's melody, and then the 3 8th notes to follow are just bits of the chord. Then you got the D and G together. Let's continue the melody, and then once again, yeah. So the identical pattern there is just to fill up the rest of the bar with something picked here. So we got the start of the next bar was a 2 beat rest. So then I have space for 4 8ths, and I filled that 4 8ths by just doing, as you can see on the screen, and then the melody comes back in. We now have 2 quarter notes, so the melody is, yeah, so we got, and I filled that in by just throwing that G note in as an extra beat, extra note. Yep, so we got, okay, let's go from the start. Yeah, so you can hear the melody, and you can hear me just striking that G note in between to fill in the gap again, and back to, and now to fill in, we're back to having 3 8th notes to fill in, and that's part of the melody. So I'm just filling in by the G and B string now. And then once again I've got 4 8ths to fill in because there's a 2 beat rest. We're up to the 4th bar there. So we go, oh, and that's another melody. And once again there this time I've got 8 beats and a half. So I've only got 2 8th notes to fill in before I get to the next bit of the melody. And that's the melody there. So that 4th bar again. And now we're up to the C bit, so let's flick to the next bit. Here, I want to do this pull off. But it's a full note, quarter note pull off, rather than, it's a fairly large length of time for the song that's going quite slowly. So I've decided to just not fill anything there, just leave that, and then quickly bring in that G string as a filler, and the rest is filler. That's better. That's still filler. And then you're back to the melody. So you can see, basically, hopefully you can see now how I've gone about filling in the gap. So that whenever I had a 2 beat melody, I had 3/8 to fill in. Whenever I had a 2-beat rest, I had 4/8 to fill in. And then I sort of mixed between toggling between 2 strings, or just doing a full run down to something. And often you can see the pattern that for the second time round, so on that A, see I'm going between the C sharp and E there, similar to what I did with the G at the start. And then for the bar 10, for that next bar, I've got a 2-beat rest to fill in, so I just go back to the melody, and I'm using now the open E string as filler. Now under the E minor, I'm now using these 2 high strings as filler. Here's another occasion where I just leave it as quarter notes, because I've got a melody now that's quite low. I'm using the bass strings, so I'm just going to leave them as quarter notes. Now we're up to the A minor. Here's an opportunity for me to do something a little bit different. So I use the open E as filler. So here's an interesting bit. So we're on bar 13, the A minor. I've done this fun bit. And then at the end of that bar 14, the melody is just this open G, but I've decided to throw in this D note, which foreshadows the G that's about to come. So I've got a space there to do something. I've decided to do something that just doesn't use the chord notes, throw in something different, stick to the key of G. I'm in the key of G. I'm using a note that foreshadows the next chord coming in. It sounds quite nice. So we end up with them. And then I'm going to use that D again to foreshadow the next chord, and that works out nicely as well because it's a D7. And now here's the final bar 16. This is basically our return, and we're going to repeat back to the start. But we have a little melody that has these low notes. I am sailing, and we're back to the start. So we're ending on this D7, and I decide to utilise the open A as I'm still alternating my bass lines. I decide to utilise the open A as the alternate bass line. And I grab the open D as part of the melody now. That's part of the melody over the open A, and we're back to. So, why don't I put this on Guitar Pro and let's have a go at recording that. And once again, I'll show you the tabs as I go. Let's have a go doing that, and we'll do that to the end. Thanks. Okay, thanks for watching.